those people who are about to retire and those who have retired, these are not people who can afford to take risks.
About to retire
and those who have retired.
They're not in that category of
even if they feel themselves to be risk takers, they should avoid this at all. Any investments that are here. As you're aging, in terms of risk, it starts narrowing down like this. So this is where now we're talking about retirement. You cannot afford now to play around with what you have. But now these years behind here, take as much risk as you want.
How many, from what age to what age should I be a high risk taker?
So basically, you're allowed to play around with until you're around 25. Because around that time is when people start thinking of planning for families and things like those ones. So before you settle down, you're allowed to take all the risks you can. There's a relationship between risk management or risk and returns. And basically, it's what we call, they're directly proportional. When the risk is high, you expect high returns. When the risk is low, you expect low returns. So the people who are about to retire, or those who've retired, we say, don't go for risky things. So we tell your risk appetite needs to come down. And by that, it means your returns are also going to go down. But it's better you make small returns over time and build up than actually take a high risk or gamble on something and you end up missing the whole of this. So this relationship is very important in any person who wants to understand investments.
And ensure that every other decision that you're making at the end of the day is very informed. Don't just come for 100,000 from the circle. For the sake of it, define your own path.
Define your own path.
Information is power. Don't let these fates decide where you want to go. Define where you want to go. God had a plan for the Israelites.
Yes.
They more or less defied him and thought that they could do their own things. But God made sure that they learned. They had to stay somewhere for 40 years.
40 years.
But I think they could have taken 40 days to get to their destination.
Or less.
Yes.
The best investment that you can make for yourself is actually investing in yourself. You need to understand yourself. You need to understand your personality. So understanding yourself helps you in this sense. When it comes to investments, we have what we call the risk meter. So the risk meter means we have sort of three types of people when it comes to risk. So you have people who can take any risk you can imagine. They don't care, all right? So those people, we call them the risk takers. And then we have the opposite, risk averse guys. Okay? Then of course the third one now are those people who are lying in between here. So when you talk about understanding yourself or your personality, we are looking at the risk personality. That's the first one. Rule number 2 is this: never, ever, ever invest in something that you do not understand. Now the third one basically states this: don't ever test the depth of a water with both your feet. We're telling you, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So those who retire have also make that mistake. They take all this amount they have and they place them in one investment. I want to take you through some investments that you need to think about that can actually bring you financial freedom. So there are basically 4. So the first one is actually business. The second one is actually real estate. Now 3 is what I call papers. So papers is where now you bring things like now cash, savings account, fixed deposit. You're talking about stocks, you're talking about bonds, mutual funds, and things like those ones. And then finally, which is so much ignored in this country, or maybe people are not aware of it, is actually commodities. So you can bring in here agriculture. You can talk about precious metals. So these are the 4 investments I can recommend. But now remember, all this has to fit what you want from the end, working backwards. What is inflation? Inflation basically means the rise of price, the price level of things going up over a period. Let's say you have a guy called A, B, and C. Each one of them has 100,000. Okay? Now A decides to put the money in the safe kwa nyumba. Now this guy decides to put money in the bank. So let's assume the bank gives you 2%.
2%.
Okay? And then we're going to assume another investment that is giving 10%. So if you calculate in 1 year, what amount will this be? So this is what our mind, based on the explanation of prices going up, tends to lie to us. So when you're investing, you need to always consider that inflation rate. Okay? So what that tells you is, from these percentages that you have here, or the ones you're expecting to come from the investments, you need to subtract the inflation rate. So what you do here, if it's 0%, then you subtract the projected inflation.
Okay.
So let's take 6. So this guarantees you that this amount you invest here will depreciate by 6%.
Yes.
Okay.
This amount you have here will depreciate by 4%. And this amount here will net you 4%. So the true value of these 3 at the end of 1 year, this will be 94,000. This will be 96,000. And this will be 104,000. So the lesson here is, anytime you're going to do any investments, whatever amount you're told, always subtract the inflation rate.
So I was having a chat with a friend of mine, and he kept telling me that he's just about to retire. While we were seated there, another friend of ours looked at him and said, "Hey, I've already retired." And we all looked at this gentleman. We were in awe. Like, "You retired? You look so young." He said, "Yeah, I retired at 45. We looked at him and we're like, 45? We thought we all retire in our 60s. And he said, "Yes, I retired at 45. Good evening and welcome. This is the Metro Business Cafe. Tonight, we discuss about retirement. At what age should you retire? At what age should you prepare to go for retire? And when you retire, then what happens? What do? Do you go back up country, sit down and just start being there with your grandchildren? Or do you retire even earlier and sit down and start doing other things?" My name is Michael Njenga. This is the Business Metro Cafe. And one thing I've been thinking about is when they tell us our retirement age, when they talk about our retirement age, we all see ourselves gray-haired. But is that the case? Andrew will be telling us tonight. And also have Benson Mwangi, CEO, Metropolitan National Sacco. Good evening and thank you for joining us. We missed you last week, but Cyrus was in there to fit in, to sit in for you. Good evening, welcome, and say hi to viewers tonight.
Good evening, our viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight. As Mike has shared with us here today, we'll be going through retirement, and we want to share some very important insights about retirement. And what we are going to be telling you, our viewers, is that the key thing is we retire into. That's the most important message.
We retire into?
Yes, into something.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not just retire and then start something.
Yes.
We retire into.
We start now, such that if you're retiring within the next 5 years, you'll be retiring into your business.
Ah.
Yes.
My goodness. I love I love this show,
yes,
because every day is a learning curve. Good evening, Andrew. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Say hi to our viewers tonight.
I'm Jamboni. Again, it's a pleasure being here, and I look forward to sharing with you insights around retirement, especially pegged to what Mike has just been talking about. Is it about age or something else? Yeah,
is it about age or something else? And while we're there, let's take a quick recap on what we had last week on investment. A lot of people kept asking. There's a diagram you drew.
Yeah.
And by the way, somebody today, somebody sat me down and discussed about those two diagrams. You drew two houses.
Yes.
One had a water inlet, one single water inlet,
yes,
which was 10,000.
Yes.
And another one had 3,000 and 5,000.
Yes.
But both were coming in. And he was so mesmerized. He was telling me, "Mike, you know, I kept thinking about that, and I'm thinking, I need the second house. I've been dwelling on the first house, which has 10,000 liters, but please, just take us through that diagram again, if you don't mind."
Okay.
Even as we recap about investment, what happened last week.
All right. So in terms of investments, the best recap I can give is, let's just think about the rules that I mentioned. Whenever you're thinking about investments, make sure you follow the 4 rules that I stated. So the first one was invest in yourself. When I talked about investing yourself, it meant understanding your personality before you even think about putting your money anywhere. And a reflection of understanding who you are was based on what we call the risk measure. So are you someone who likes taking a lot of risk, or are you someone who avoids risk? That personality defines you, is what guides you in terms of the investments you should go for. So if you're someone who doesn't like taking risk, that's an indication that you should try and avoid taking investments that are very risky. Of course, you can go ahead and do that. If they work out for you, good for you. But if things turn south, then it can have a very psychological effect and even health-wise, because you're not created to take the impact of risk working against you. So to be safe, it's better for you to take the investments that are not very risky, and vice versa. Then the second one was, we said that never ever invest in anything that you do not understand. So it's very key for you, before you put your money anywhere, take some time to, there's so many free YouTube talking about different types of investments. Get some basic understanding of the investment you want to go for, and that make sure that you're quite comfortable in a way that you can question even when things are going wrong. You don't have to go quite into details, but at least have an understanding of what it's all about. Then third, we said, don't put all your eggs into one basket. That's what Mike wants me to recap using the houses.
Yes.
I see a lot of people, and last time Mike talked about a friend who's about to retire, I think next year. And according to her, she has this 3 million that she'll be getting from the savings. And she wants to put all that money into one business. Now that's not a very smart move to take, and that's why these houses are going to reflect what we're trying to teach around that. And then the final one is said that when the deal is too good, you think thrice, not even twice.
Thrice.
You think thrice.
Yes.
Because more often than not, it's a con or something like that. So those 4 basic rules basically will help you minimize the risk of losing your money by over 90%. So if you think about your past and the types of investments you've made, especially the ones that went south, you can attribute missing those 4 or one of those 4. Had you followed those 4, if you reflect back, you'll see that you'll have been able to avoid that. So that's just a summary around that. Now, just to take you quickly about the house Mike is talking about, this is what we said. You have house A and you have house B. Now, both of these houses are totally identical. Let's even say they're next to each other, all right? So you are asked to pick one of these 2 houses, and you have to give a reason why you're picking that. So say these 2 houses are very similar. The only difference is as follows. House A receives water from a pipe we are calling 1. And on a monthly basis, it receives 10,000 liters of water. Okay? Now, house B receives from 1, and this is 5,000 liters, but it also received from another source we're going to call 2, and this one is 3,000 liters. So in total, house A has 10,000 liters on a monthly basis, and house B has a total of 8,000 on a monthly basis. So everything else about these 2 houses is identical. So the question was, which house will you pick between the 2? Now this has less water than this, okay? So what most people do psychologically is they go for the one that has more. Now when you factor the risks, what we said is, assume this pipe here for blue is passing through a certain road. There's a major construction, for example, Mombasa Road, and then they happen to cut this pipe. So water stops flowing. Okay? What happens to this house?
No access to water.
No access to water.
So they have no access to water.
Yes.
But what happens to B?
If they close the 3,000 one, the 5,000 one is still coming in.
So this will be closed, but at least you'll have this one. Okay?
Yes.
And that's the idea behind not putting all your eggs into one basket. So we have people who, like now your friend was going to retire, he wants to take all that money and put it in one investment. So if something goes wrong here, down she goes with it. But if she picks 2 or 3 types of things she can do, we are talking about 3 pipes.
Yes.
So if something happens to one, at least you have 2 to caution you. And that's the smartness around diversifying what they say your portfolio. So that was the message around this.
Okay.
Exactly.
That gentleman was so mesmerized. It was like I had never seen it from that perspective. So you said we retire into.
Yes.
A lot of us want to come to Metropolitan National Sacco.
Yes.
We put all our money.
Yes.
From the day I'm employed to the time I'm going into my retire.
Yes.
And then after that, I come and take all the money. Just come and withdraw all the money.
Yes.
And go and start something because another friend of mine has started. Is this the way to go? Do we put money into a sacco so that we can recoup the money or get the money once we retire? Or what happens? Why do I come and why do I need to save with you?
Mike, what I would want to say from the very onset is that SACCOs are vehicles that were established by people who are like-minded, and it's still the same concept. And the objective was for these vehicles to empower them financially, create a vehicle that they would be able to save some money, and this money would assist them in future to actualize on their projects. And the issue of retirement, I would say that it was not what they were looking at the very end. But when you have been able to save, when you have been in active employment, or when you have also, you have had the energy to carry on with your business, then that money will definitely assist you at that very end when you're not able to, you don't have the energy to do those things that you used to do when you're young. And what I would like to say is, through, for example, the kind of training that we have been taking our members have been able to take loans over time. And what we said from the very beginning is that we ought to start saving for those cash flowing assets from a very early age, especially for the youth. And when you do that, then you have an opportunity to apply for many loans, because the repayment period for most of our loans, or maybe most of the loans that anyone would want to access, is, let's say, about 4 years.
Yes.
So assuming you have a window to work for like 30 years, it means you'll be able to take up to 7 or 8 loans. Within the time that you have the energy to work. So for those 7 loans that you'll take, then it means you'll be able now to plan well for this money. You undertake projects such that by the time you are retiring, the money that you'll get after retirement is not the money that you'll go and start using to now start trying out things that you never tried when you had the opportunity. This is money that should now take care of you in your old age, simply because the money that you took from the SACCO and you're able to invest, when you retire, then you'll continue with that business. That's why I'm saying you plan and retire into something. Yeah? And like Andrew has said, especially a very important point here, there's some businesses that are riskier than others, especially the transport industry, dealing with public service. Those are not the kind of investments you'd expect. When I retire personally, I'll go and start venturing into those ones. If I didn't do that when I was young, then it means it's not a good investment for me in terms of appetite. When
I'm older.
Yes. So you look for things that, one, at all times, when you retire, you can afford a good medical skill, because that what you ideally require then is access to good health care. You can be able to feed comfortably. You can generally have a comfortable life. So you don't want to do those small things, and especially what we have seen with our parents. They do those small-scale farming, a few of cows here and there, simply because they want to keep themselves busy. But at least, financially, I'm fairly comfortable. I don't have to bother my kids.
Can my investments, like for example, or what I save, can it become like, now this is what has employed me? That I don't need to get the money out. So this becomes like my employment.
Exactly.
And is there a way, as Metropolitan National Sacco, where you're giving me back my dividends at the end of the month, at the end of the year? Is there a way you can split them and tell me, Mike, you have this amount, every month, instead of giving you a lump sum, you know,
Yes.
instead of giving you a lump sum,
Yes.
we'll be giving you 100,000 every month.
What we have done is, especially with the most of the teachers who are retiring, we have majority of them channeling their lump sum pensions through the circle. And ideally, we thank the government that at least now they are getting something substantial as opposed to what they used to get some 15 years, 20 years ago. This now on average, I think I'm seeing most of our retired teachers getting between 3 and around 4 million.
Wow.
You know, the government has really adjusted their pay.
Okay.
So when you get such an amount of money, yes, you can agree, let me set aside a portion of it.
Yes.
Maybe there's something I really wanted when you know, I was in active employment, but since I didn't do it, let me do it. Let me try. I mean, do this thing. The other balance is about 2-3 million. You put it in a fixed deposit account. We pay you interest on a monthly basis.
On a monthly basis?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll give you interest, say, let's say if it's like a 3 million, around 30 to about 35, depending on the terms on how we are going to agree. Together with your monthly pension, then you can see comfortably you're getting your 70,000.
So it becomes my salary. I continue. It's as if I'm still, you know,
in fact,
in the office.
I'll give you an example of a lady who has been our customer for quite some time. And when she got her retirement benefits, she came and placed that money in our fixed deposit account. And every month, she always calls me, especially around the 30th. And Nanyambia, Benson,
Yes.
you know you're my boss. I need my pay.
I need my pay.
This is how cash on the party account. And she gets an average of around 75,000 every month.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh. So retire into.
Yes.
Yeah? Retire into something.
Yes.
Take us through. We are here on this retirement. He started us off on a very high note.
Yes.
That don't just wake up and retire. Retire into something. At what point should I start my business? At what point should I start my retirement process? Remember, I gave you one of my friends. She is just about to retire. She has 1 year.
Yeah.
By the way, what happens with civil servants is that once your payslip comes in, your payslip tells you up there, you have umri wako ni, umri wako ni, and then you have it clearly tells you. Like for her, she was telling me she has 1 year and 2 months to retire. Her retirement package comes to about 3-point-something million. So at what point should she start thinking that I need to retire into something?
Okay. All right, Mike. Now, the way I'm going to approach our today's topic is very similar to what the discussion you're having with your friend today, when he's telling you, wow, I never saw it this way. That's what I want to bring out to people, because you'll realize that what I've just been saying over and over, mindset.
Yes, mindset.
These days everyone calls me Niaje mindset.
Mindset.
Yes. It all boils down to that.
Yes.
And so let me start off by asking you a question, Mike. Assume you set up a business today, and you've done your research, and you felt that this is the right business for me to do. Then you bring someone on board to run that business for you. Okay? Now, what will you do? Let's say, what are some of the things you'll do within 1 year? Will you just leave that person to run the business, then you show up after 1 year? Or what will you do? Some of the highlights that you can tell me.
So I have the business going on.
You've just set it up. It started today.
Yes.
So you've brought this person in the morning. You've injected your capital in it. So umemwambia vile kazi inafaa kwenda. Umemwachia. From there, in the next 1 year, what are some of the things you'll be doing?
I mean, I need to be there almost all the time.
You need to be there.
Yeah. I need to make sure that, business is going well. Profits and losses. I need to understand how they are going. I mean, I need to be involved in that.
You need to be involved.
Yes.
Bonasio, will you agree with Mike?
Yes, to some extent. Eh?
Okay, what are some of the things you bring out yourself?
Definitely, my guidance will be obviously expected to be there. So that one, from the very onset, we agree this is the business. What are the terms? Because again, it ought to be very clear. Because again, if I'm bringing in someone to run the business,
Yes.
definitely there has to be, an agreement that yes, I'm giving you, I'm entrusting you to manage this business.
Okay.
These are the expectations, such that now when I'll be coming to review what he has been doing, I'll be reviewing this against what we had earlier agreed upon. Yes.
Okay, so Bonasio talks about basically creating a roadmap and then frequently measuring how the progress is based on the terms that they had agreed.
Yes.
So that feeds back into the goals and goal setting. Neighbor number 3.
Neighbor number 3.
Okay?
Yes.
Goal, plan,
goal.
action.
Yes.
So when you bring in the SMART acronym, it tells you should be reviewing what's going on. Okay? Now, to so many of you who are watching this, I know it sounds obvious, but let me show you now the similarities around the question I've just asked with retirement. Now, so many people know when I retire, I need to have set myself vis-a-vis personal finance. There's no one in doubt who doesn't know about that. Therefore, we can say people have a vague idea. When I retire, I need to have cautioned myself. But that's where it ends. Okay? Is there a plan? Are there actions? So most people are neighbor number 2.
Number 2.
Or even 1.
Yes.
Okay? Now, let me just show you or try and bring this thing out for people to actually see what I'm talking about here and to realize the damage that we cause for ourselves, all because of lack of knowledge. Okay? Now, and also programming in our minds. So, Michael, I'm going to ask you some questions and I want you to be honest, brutally be honest. And those of you who are watching also, I want you to listen to this question and answer them to yourselves. You cannot lie to yourself. So just think through the questions I'm going to ask Mike as we think through this. Now, Mike, so many people in this country and around the world, I want to prove to you how it's just a wish, sort of somewhere, it's hanging somewhere. And remember I told you, when you think about something, you attract it. The more precise you are, the strength of attraction increases. When it's floating around, the mind is confused. What exactly does Mike want? Okay? So let's start from that point. You contribute on a monthly basis some money to go to your pension.
Yes.
Do you do that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Number 2, does your employer also contribute for you?
Yes.
Does, okay?
Money that goes to NSSF.
Even for the pension.
Even for the pension.
Or provident fund.
Yes.
Thank you. Now let's start with the questions properly now. Number 1, who is the pension fund or who is the fund manager for your pension money?
Well. I just remit.
Thank you. Okay?
To be honest,
Yeah,
I just remit.
there's a point I'm bringing out here.
Yes.
Okay? Now, that is very similar to actually bringing someone to run your business who you do not know. In the business, you injected capital with the hope of your returns coming back, or you have some objectives in the future. That's why you're setting up this business. So in retirement, you're saving because you want this money to assist you at your retirement age. Now, when you're running your business, you do your due diligence when you're employing someone. But when it comes to the money that you're contributing towards your pension, you do not even know the person or the institution that is handling it. You see the similarities? So I go to the second question. What rate of return did your pension fund return last year?
Honestly, I got no idea.
Okay.
I don't follow it. I got no idea. To be honest.
Okay.
Yes.
That is very similar to that business you've set up, you're not following what the profits or losses are. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's very similar to that. The third question will be, which of course now given the first and the second, even this one you won't be in a position to answer. What has been the average return of your pension fund in the last 5-10 years? Has it been increasing, decreasing? Are there years where it has returned negative returns? How many people know these things?
Very few of us, man.
But this is your money. Think of it as that capital you've injected into your business. So if you're not following up and it's yours, what does that tell you about us and retirement, the perception we have or the actions that we take?
I've taken someone, I've
Yes,
set
we're
up
not-
a
we're
business,
not in control.
and I'm not in control of it.
Exactly. How do you feel now, Mike, having asked you those
I
questions?
mean, at some point I feel very silly because, I mean, it's my money
Exactly.
that is going there, and I've got no idea
Exactly.
whatsoever.
Yes. Now, that fund, what kind of investments are in that pool? What portfolio consists of those things which are inside there? No one knows.
No one knows.
Okay? So the beauty around pensions will be around the government has set up an arm that actually oversees the running of such funds. So that's the Retirement Benefits Authority. Okay? But the point I'm heading with this is what I've just been teaching. Okay? You have, when you're thinking about financial peace, you have to watch where each single cent of yours is going. What is it doing for you? And especially the fact that, according to the research that we did, we saw that given that mentality we have from when we're very young, that it's wrong to teach children about money, and we saw the way it becomes a cycle of 3 generations, when they retire and they burn all the money by trying different investments, and that's why Bwana C is talking about retire into something. The tradition way we do it is we wait for us to retire, then we start.
Yes.
That's a very wrong approach. Because just like a child, everything runs just like how you observe nature. It's a process. Running a business is a skill. Investing is a skill. And there's no skill that you just wake up one day and you're good. There are times you're going to fall.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
right.
tide. All right? So the problem is by the time being you perfect in that skill, your money is gone. And if your money is gone, then it means you have no choice but to rely on the pension. The pension that you never cared to know who runs it, the
How it's
interest,
run.
exactly.
How much
Right.
is giving back?
So what would happen if you go to your pension fund and they tell you, we're sorry, we lost all your money?
Hold up, because now this is getting personal. Tell me,
Yes.
should I follow on my pension and get to know how much it has made in a month? Should I follow on my pension and get to know where it's being invested? Or should I just give? Sometimes they tell us, Retirement Benefits Authority, give 100 shillings a day.
I'm going to answer that question with an example.
Yeah.
Please allow me to do this. In 2007, there's what we call the financial globe crisis. The financial world came to a standstill and it almost collapsed. It took governments to inject money or actually print money to actually turn the thing around.
Yes.
And do you know what happened? I'll quickly just take you through this. So people blame, a market called derivatives or products called derivatives. But it's not the product, it's the people behind that. So when you go to finance world, they'll tell you derivatives are complex. They start using jargons that make you feel like, this is just meant for special people who've trained certain things.
Yes.
So this is what basically happened at around that time. So I want you to think of this end, you have people we call investors, okay? Between here, I want you to think about banks, mainly investment banks. And on this other end, I want you to think about homeowners, Okay? So what used to happen was, when you're thinking about these investors seated here, I'm talking about like now pension funds, which is where your money is, okay? Mutual funds, all those ones, big funds, okay? So normally what used to happen is, investors used to go to the Federal Reserve or the central bank to invest in treasury bills and bonds. Okay? Those are safe haven, right? The probability of them actually failing is next to zero.
Okay.
Because for them to fail, it means there's no government anymore, right? So most of these investors loved purchasing these papers from the government through the central bank or the Federal Reserve. Now, after the September 11th, the bombing that took place, and also in the wake of the .com, things became so bad, and the government of the United States, so that to allow the economy to stand strong, they lowered the interest rates to 1%. Okay? So if they've lowered the interest rates to 1%, you as an investor, this is too low.
It's very low.
Yeah.
Last time I talked about inflation, so
Yes.
this wipes it out, okay? So they said no more buying government bonds. Okay, we need to look for other places where we can put money. But now, if you are seated here as an investment banker, what does this tell you? It tells you you can actually borrow money from the bank, from the government at 1%.
Yes.
And then you go invest somewhere else, make about 10%, return the 1% to the government.
Yes.
So investors shied away from the central bank, and the banks ran into central bank to get money. Okay? So they use something which I'm not going to go into the details about how it works, but it's called leverage in the world of derivatives, yeah? And basically that means you amplify your outcome. So someone who has like, let's say 1 million, it gives you an opportunity to actually trade using something like 10 million. So it amplifies what you have.
Okay.
So they made so much money. This is the time you used to hear like all banks, investment banks in the States, the CEOs were being bought for their own aircrafts. They couldn't travel with their kawaida. Kila mtu ana ndege yake.
Yes.
That's how much money they were making. So as they were making this money, these investors started eyeing them, because they're still holding on their money. They're trying to look for somewhere where they want to put it. So they kept calling these guys, and these guys got an idea. And the idea was, if you have home owners here, where do they get the homes from? From mortgage.
Yes.
Okay? So they felt like if we can develop a product of mortgage, we can repackage this and sell it to these guys at a good rate.
Okay.
So normally what happens if you want a home is you go to a bank or and you provide, they do the analysis. If you qualify, then they issue out the mortgage. All right? So you buy a home and then you start paying. Right? So the banks and circles are they really watch the way they do their credit analysis so that they ensure you're capable of paying that. All right?
Yes.
So what they did is, these banks came and bought all the mortgages from this guy. So if you're seated here, you'll be a very happy person. Because what it means is, all these people that have bought mortgage from me, I was so busy watching how they're paying out. Now this institution has come and bought all that. So I don't need to sit down and start watching imekuwa kazi yake ya kuangalia whether these guys are paying. Okay? So these guys took all these mortgages and then they called their so-called financial wizards to perform magic on this box, on these mortgages, which basically means they came up with what I can call the 3 cascading trays. All right? So every month, these homes, they're paying money that is coming here. So it fills out first here, then spills over to this.
Okay.
This fills up, then spills over to this. All right? So this first product, they call it A, this B, and this C. So it means when the money is coming in, B haiwezi pata kama ijaja.
Kama A jaja. Yes.
Exactly. So they went ahead and insured this one. so that it gets a triple A rating, similar to a government bond.
Okay.
Okay? And then they came up with a rate of about 5% for this. This one, they gave it triple B rating, and this was paying around 8%, and this was the riskiest of all. They gave 10%. So what they were basically telling the investors is, you have an option of buying A, B, or C. So when the investor sees 1% of a bond and it's triple A, and we have another one here that is triple A and it's 5%, people run for?
Yes.
So they took these three, combined them, and called it CDO, something called CDO in finance, yeah? Just to make it simple. So when you speak to them, they tell you their derivatives called CDOs. They're complex.
Yes.
You're like, okay, hiyo ni hao watu wamesoma sana, ama, you know, the
Kizungu
wizards
mingi.
and all this thing. Yeah. So the interest of an investor is what? Unanipatia ngapi?
5%.
So this is the focus. So the first year you're given 5%, you're like, wow, this is good. Next year unaeka, hey, this thing is working. Okay? So this went on. So what this meant was, every month, si pesa zinaingia kutoka different people paying mortgages. So one day, this guy calls the mortgage lenders. The mortgage lenders discovers that they don't have more houses. Why is that? Because everyone who qualified for a house already has one.
They've all bought.
Yes. So what do? And they hold no risk. Situanze kutafuta wale ambayo hawako mzuri kabisa. After all, tunawauzia. So shida itaendea kina nani?
Banks.
Investment banks.
And that's what they started doing. And I'm telling you, it got so bad to a point whereby they will send their salespeople to the streets, and you meet a beggar and you tell them, do you want a house? Sign here. Just sign and you'll have a house. Unapata nyumba runda. And you're living on the street. So what is starting to happen in this thing we're calling CDO? You're starting to bring toxic investments into it.
Because there are people who will default.
It's obvious.
You know,
it's
all
common
that stuff.
sense, yeah?
Yes.
But when you ask them, they'll tell you they're CDOs. They're very complex. There's nothing complex. It's just common sense. Now, this money is invested globally, and it's pension, for people's pension. So eventually what happened is the first house defaults. So the logic they're having is, if it defaults, I put it up for sale. After all, the house prices has always been going up. So the second, third, so it gets to a point whereby there's so many houses that have defaulted that the supply and demand gets to an equilibrium. So the pricing stops going up. As a matter of fact, as a matter of fact now, the supply is more than the demand.
So we have more houses than we need people to buy them.
Exactly. And when that happens now, the prices start going down.
They dip.
So as they dip, wewe ambao ulikuwa umenunua nyumba runda, una realize, I'm supposed to pay this house at 50 million, but now they're worth 30 million. But you're still paying your mortgage. You say it doesn't make sense, so you move away. So eventually what happened is this thing collapsed. And before it collapsed, the president of the United States at that particular time, George Bush, stood out in front of people and said, America has discovered a way ever in the history that any American can afford a house. And they're very proud of that.
Yes.
And the few people who are making noise, those who understand the risks that are going on, were being
suppressed. Don't talk. Shush.
Okay? So eventually this thing blew out and people started going bankrupt. AIG ilikuwa ina sponsor Manchester at that time.
Yes.
So after the collapse, ikaisha. Lehman's brother, all those things. So what happened to people's pension?
Ikakunywa maji.
People lost their money in pension.
Somebody who was so innocent,
Exactly.
you put your money into pension,
Exactly.
you do not even understand what's going on with the banks and their mortgages,
Exactly.
yet your money is gone.
It's gone. So Had someone taken time to follow those 4 rules I've talked about, ungeenda uliza ECD nini, uambiwe it's complex. So what? Si wewe ni mwanadamu kama mimi. Si wewe unaelewa haya.
Explain to me.
Bring it down to a layman's language until else I'm not putting my money there. And once you understand what's going on, takuwa okay sawa. So every year when you're reviewing, you start realizing, wait, how come the president was saying these days that out was streets on a paper? It doesn't make sense. Something is not going on right. So if you understood what is going on here, you'll quickly move your money out of this. And that's the problem. You see, psychology, if you earn 5% or 10% or 20% for 3 years, you become comfortable. Those guys know what they're doing. Then one day nakuja tu pump. So ask yourself, you've retired. You don't have any other source. You've lost all your money through trying to do business. Now the only one is pension. And then this happens. Where does that leave people?
All my money gone.
And I can tell you, if you just go Google and watch, a lot of people in the world, all money was gone completely. Who do you go complain to? The president stood there and told you we found a way of countering this, but what eventually happened? They lost it.
Yes.
So to answer your question, it's very similar to the example I gave about the business. Can you leave your business just to run itself?
Can't.
Exactly.
You can't.
So that application of running your business is what we need to do also when it comes to our pensions. We should have a right of calling our pension funds and tell them, how is it performing? What kind of portfolios have you put there? This is my money. You cannot block me, it's mine. Okay? So that's a very big area that I realize we Kenyans really lack. And that's why I decided to start with this one.
My goodness. And every time you speak, starting last week, I've been asking myself, do I really, then when I start thinking about banks and and SACCOs, at some point I start asking myself, then I think I need to run to SACCOs at some point. Because, I mean, if the bank is trading with my cash, yet SACCO here is telling me, bring your cash, we'll do fixed deposits, we'll do this, then where am I as a customer, as a layman who comes to two financial institutions? I have a SACCO here, I have a bank here. What do I do?
Mike, let me tell you, in the Western world, SACCOs, they are called credit unions. Credit unions.
Credit unions?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know they are powerful than the banks?
Uh-huh.
For example, which bank do you bank with? Or which financial institution for that matter?
Depending on where I am, my businesses and everything, I have Cooperative Bank, I have CSC Stanbic, I have ABSA.
What I would like to share with you, which you can actually confirm, whether it is true or not. Are you a shareholder there?
No.
You're just a customer.
I'm just a customer.
You just enjoy the service.
And there's one that who are very rude, by the way.
So when you're a member of any SACCO, you enjoy both. You enjoy being there as a customer
and as a shareholder.
As a shareholder. And you actually exercise your democratic rights in deciding the decisions that have been made. And this, you do it at an annual general meeting or a special general meeting or delegates meeting. So when you're a member of a SACCO, you have the authority to determine and shape the direction of your financial institution. At the end of the day, the way you participate in generation of revenue, surplus, again, you end up sharing that when it comes to the end of the financial year. So SACCOs, they have all the benefits. If today, for example, you have, let's say, 5 million in your bank account in COP,
yes,
you're a very good customer. When you'll be so down such that possibly the account will have more or less minimal balance. And sorry for me to give COP as an example.
I mean, any other bank.
You'll see the treatment, as you put it, the treatment will be different.
Yes.
When you have 1 million shillings, you'll get to see that the people who are serving you are treating you in a special way. When the balance, when your bank balance goes down, definitely you'll be treated like any other casual person, right?
Holoi poloi, like.
But in the SACCO, we treat all our members fairly. Because
It does not matter
how much you have.
Yes.
To us,
We are all equal.
Yes, you are a customer, you are a member. And what qualifies you to be a member, and not just us, any other circle, subscription to the minimum share capital, and you pay up the registration fee, period. That qualifies you to be a member.
Yes.
And you're supposed to be treated equally, regardless of whether you have 1 million shillings in member deposits or you have 10 million shillings in your account. Yes, there could be a bit of some preferential treatment, but to us, you are a customer, you are a member to us, and we should treat you equally. Because when it comes to making decisions in the circle, you make them equally. Why? Because the principle is one vote for each member. If you have 1 million worth of shares, you not vote twice, you only vote once. And that's one of the key principles in...
Because now we are all equal. We are all members in this circle.
Yes. And we are like-minded.
And we are all like-minded.
Yes.
It's really opening up my mind. Thank you very much to all of you who are talking to us. I'm seeing Carol Bildad, you're saying you're tuned. I'm seeing Dark Mole, you're saying you're tuned. I've got somebody, Kemiti, thank you very much. Kemiti Wagita following closely, my brother. This is an eye-opener. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Paul and Samuel, we really do appreciate. Angela, you're also online tonight. Remember, if you'd like to talk to us, our number is 0790000333. 0790000333 is our SMS line. You can also use the same number, 0790000333, to talk to us on our WhatsApp line. I'll be talking to you. I'll be reading your comments in just a few. Opening up mindset, just changing up my mindset tonight.
Yes.
So here I'm at Metropolitan National Circle. If I have 1 million, somebody else has 2,000, somebody else has, we all have the same vote.
Exactly.
You know, and you're opening us up, trying to tell us we need to choose our investments and where we keep our money wisely.
Yes.
Let's move on.
Yep.
And use
where you can be able to manage and control your investment. I think that's the most important thing that Andrew has shared with us.
Yes. You are able to control your investment. You know where your money is going. Is going to. And I had never seen it at that point, Andrew. I'm just pumping in money into retirement.
Yes.
But I don't ask what they're doing with the money.
Exactly.
I don't ask if am I supposed to know if the returns are monthly, or am I supposed to know if the returns are yearly? Or is it that I wrote there that I want to retire at 60, so I'll come back when I'm 60. I'll just keep pumping money.
Look at it as your business, period. That's why I asked you, in your business, what will you do?
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
Yes.
It's your money, you've injected the capital in it with the goal of something you're looking for. Now, this is supposed to take care of you after you retire. Okay? So why not following up to find out whether this money is working for you or against you? Who is supposed to do that work for you? Humans are humans. As long as we have we have the government through the RBA, but I've just shown you an example in the States, so even the president stood. But at the end of it, money was lost. How would you know the same thing is happening in this country? It's only that we don't know. Right?
Yes.
So my people perish due to lack of
knowledge.
We go back to it again. So that's the starting point. Now the second part, I want to address this to those who are working, the young ones, and those who are about to retire. Okay? There's a very big similarity between the COVID-19 pandemic and retirement. Okay? The two of them are different situations cut from the same cloth. And the similarity is this. Number one is lack of income. You can remember last year, the moment we closed our borders and all that, a lot of people lost their jobs. To this day, they're still struggling.
Yes.
So lack of income. That's number one. The second similarity between the two is a lot of time on your hands to do nothing. Remember when we closed, people were just waking up in the morning and unatembea kwa nyumba, unarudi kwa room, unaingia pali pengine hivyo. You wonder what's going to happen. There's so much time and nothing to do. Those are the similarities between the COVID-19 pandemic and retirement. Mm-hmm. So if you do not plan yourself, when you retire, it's going to treat you the same way as lockdown has been treating us.
Ah.
Okay? So those two things, the initial thing I've talked about, and they should start opening up your eyes because it's your future. And it's so sad because at that point you're aging, your body's starting to become weak. So you can't go back to work. So you have to change your mindset today, and you need to give retirement the attention it deserves because it's not going to smile with you.
At what point, at what age should I start giving retirement attention it deserves?
As early as possible, even before you join university. It's all about where do you want to go. That's why we go back to the story you're talking about. Why were you shocked that someone is saying he retired at 45?
Yeah, and he's doing pretty much well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It goes to show you the brainwash that it's 60. It's 55, it's 65. Said who? In fact, now that brings me to my next point.
Yes.
What is retirement? If I ask you what is retirement, how will you answer that question?
He's taking a chill pill. I've finished up. I've ran my race. Let me take a chill pill.
Okay.
Something else.
Something else.
All right. Now, who decides your retirement? Is it you, your employer, or the government?
It should be you.
It should be you.
It should be.
But how many people
But in actual
know
sense,
that?
because like I told you, civil servants,
Yes.
umri wako keeps reminding you your
Yes.
age and how much time you have until, you know. So the government pretty much tells guys, by the way,
And obviously,
you have 1 year.
There is something that prompted the government to do that.
Exactly.
Or they just
Previously, it wasn't there.
okay.
Yes, it wasn't there. I think this started around 2009.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I was looking at the payslip, and she told me, Mike, just
Yes.
look up there, my age,
Yes.
and the time I have left to work for the government.
Okay.
My goodness.
Now-
And it actually started with the teachers.
It started with the teachers.
Yes.
And you're dealing with a lot of teachers.
Yes.
Just give us a little background as we come to you, Andrew. Just give us a little background. How did this come up? At what point did the government realize, you know what, we need to keep reminding these guys, you're retiring in 6 months?
You know what happened? Eh? By then, the retirement age for teachers was 55. And I think the retirement age was pushed by Mr. Moraria when he was the finance minister.
Yes.
And by the time when now teachers were retiring, you know, they have always been very active. So you could find one is still very energetic. And, you know, like Nani puts it, it's more of a mindset. I still have a lot of energy.
Yeah, I'm energetic.
You know, I'll move on and on and on. Forgetting 55 years is here with me.
Just next door.
Yes, sijajipanga.
Oh my.
So the government now realize we need now to start reminding these people in another 2-3 years we'll be
You're retiring.
Yes. And initially they started with those teachers who would retire like in another 2-3 years. Then they realized we need now to inform everyone.
Everyone.
Yes. So that waanze kujipanga mapema.
So if I have 10 years, it tells me you have 10 years to retirement.
Yes.
You have 6 months.
You are reminded your age. So that, and I think, you know, looking at it now from a different angle is the entire package that we have taken through our viewers and our members. We started with, you know, different ways of, you know, making money, what kind of investments we should undertake, especially the cash flow in assets.
Yes.
We have looked at goals and goal setting. You know, you start with what you'd want to achieve. For example, I have, let's say, about 15 years to my retirement age, assuming I would want to retire at 60. So within now, let's say, 15, 16 years to my retirement, what is it that I would want to achieve by that time. Working now backwards, it now guides me on what I need to do now to be there.
To be there.
Yes.
Yes.
If, for example, I would want to maybe to start, let's say, a big car wash, you know, that would require this and this and this and this and this. Eventually, I require like to have invested, say, about 5 or maybe 2 million. Then that kind of investment would require I invest a bit kidogo now. Another 2 years I invest, I pump in kidogo kidogo, such that by the time I'm retiring, the business has already peaked and I'll be retiring into the car wash business. Not to go and start when I get my retirement dues.
Not to quickly rush and start buying car wash machines.
Exactly.
I don't even know what they are and what
and
happens.
the nitty-gritties.
So you retire into,
Yes.
keyword tonight, retire into something.
I give you an example. You decide that when you retire, you want to start a barber shop.
Yes.
You know, there's so many things around, let's say, running a barber shop. I realized another day I was running one. Nimefungua, I had those guys, the barbers.
Yes.
They took off and they took off with the customers.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah, so you can imagine if I had decided to do that now upon my retirement, or after retirement, I invest for some 500,000, then they take off. I mean,
Oh my. Yes, because once they take off, they go with all the customers.
yes, and that's why Andrew said at some point we reduce our risk exposure. Yes. Yeah.
Because as you move on, as you age,
Yes.
you don't want all these things giving you pressure.
Exactly.
You know, and raising your sugars to some crazy levels.
Precisely.
You need something you retire into, but it will keep you.
Where you understand the nitty-gritties. Yeah.
Okay. Take us through. You had the next diagram. Well, when I see a blank page, I know there's another diagram coming in.
All right. So here we were talking about, I was just trying to prompt the young people, those who are working. You might think you'll be in that job forever, but the reality is going to hit you so hard because of the programming that we have around our society. So when it comes to age, we're asking ourselves, what is retirement? And basically the society has this concept of, it's the day I stop working, or it's the day, you know, kazi yangu imeisha natoka. So you'll hear a lot of people talking about, like now your friend, I have 1.5 years or 1 year, 3 years. Now today I want us to redefine what retirement is. And the way we're going to mention it is this way. Retirement is not about your age. It has nothing to do with age. Going forward, retirement is a financial number. Underline that. So when you're thinking about retirement, you should not be thinking about your age. You should be thinking about a financial number. A number that you know, once I hit it, I know I'll be comfortable until my last day. That's the way you're supposed to look at retirement. And that is why the person you're talking to who retired at 45 was very comfortable. He worked towards a number. If I hit this number, if I hit this goal, I'm good to go from there. Okay? So when you talk about the numbers, what are you talking about? We're basically saying you position yourself in such a way that I know if I'm able to make this kind of amount of money, if I'm able to build up X amount of assets that can be giving me this amount of money, I will be comfortable going forward. We are all different.
Yes.
Okay? Kuna mtu ya atataka tu just a simple life and that's it. So the moment they hit that, them to retire ni kutoka tu. So don't let someone else determine when you're supposed to retire, because now we are not looking at retirement as age, we are looking at it as a financial number. Okay? So your friend atakitoka next year, that's not retirement. She should be thinking about a number that I know going forward is going to take care of me going forward. All right? So that's the approach. And then I want to emphasize a lot in terms of, in the beginning when I was talking about who are you, I said that if you take a human being, they're made up of 3 parts. So I talked about the soul, I talked about the mind, and I talked about the body. Okay? Now for this one, I want to emphasize what I'm talking about here to those who've retired. Now, this thing called a body can play tricks to this.
To the mind.
Yes, if you're not careful.
Okay.
I want to emphasize that the mind does not know your age. I really want to emphasize that. The only thing it knows to do, or its function, is just to attract the thoughts that you store there. Okay? So as you look at your body and you start seeing yourself aging, don't let this body lie to your mind that your mind is also aging. The mind does not age. Okay?
Okay.
You might start forgetting things as you age, but that's the brain. That's not the mind.
What's the difference?
Okay? Anything that is physical in your body is, we can
So
put
there's
them
the mind
under.
and the brain.
Yes.
Okay.
All right? The brain is something you can touch. It's physical.
But mind is
Exactly.
takes me into a journey.
And this is what God gave us. When I talked about He created us in His image, this is what it is. And likeness. The likeness is what? He's a creator. So we are creators. How do we create? We use this tool.
Okay.
So this tool does not know age. It doesn't know a young kid and an old person. But this will play tricks for you to believe that it knows that. So imagine yourself retiring and you're saying, oh, my body is aging out. What thoughts are you storing here?
That
I'm done.
shelf life.
Yes. And that's what you'll keep attracting because it doesn't know what is right and what is wrong. It doesn't know whether it's positive or negative. It only knows to attract what you store there.
So whatever your body brings into the mind.
That's what it brings, it attracts.
Yes.
And that's why you find, Mike, a lot of people, the moment they retire, their life simply just goes shoo.
2-3 years later, especially men. By then, I've never understood.
It's this.
I've never understood why men immediately after retirement, 2, 3, 4 years later,
Okay.
we loved you, but God loved you more.
Let's ask ourselves this question. When men retire, what do? Remember I told you the similarity between pandemic and retirement.
Yes.
What normally happens?
We're on lockdown now.
Okay. A lot of free time to do nothing. Because that's what we're told, that's what retirement is all about. Umeenda nyumbani, so unaamka unaangalia tu ng'ombe pale, then you go back in the house. It starts to hit you psychologically. What is all this about?
Yes.
You get?
Yes. Yes.
So you start feeling sorry for yourself. What does the mind do? It keeps attracting the very same things. All right? Unaona unazeeka, sawa, acha nikuzeeshe.
So you become full.
How do you explain Chris Kirubi dying at 80 years? Let's put aside
the sickness.
The sickness.
Yes.
Before that, could you tell his age?
You wouldn't at all. You wouldn't tell.
Na
how
kuna watu
it is.
wataniambia alikuwa na pesa. Those are excuses we give ourselves to be comfortable in our area. Yet we know very well we're not happy in that spot. It has nothing to do with money. It's the mind. Kirubi was going. There's nothing like retirement to him. I need to set up another company. So the mind is so busy thinking about adventures. That's why the body never aged.
John Joe at 103,
Aha.
still driving himself.
There you go. Warren Buffett is turning 91 years on 30th, this Monday. And is the chairman of a very successful investment company.
Wow.
If I tell you he's turning 91, you're not going to believe him if you see him. So that's the power of the mind. So to those who've retired, please, 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 don't let your mind, just because you've walked out from an employment you've been for so long, don't let your body lie to your mind. You should be more energetic hata ukitoka sasa.
Yeah.
All right? That's the attitude that I'd like them to come out with. Okay? And when you do that, you'll realize that you'll just start seeing the differences that happens to you. Think about the guy who founded KFC. He did that at his 70 plus.
Almost going 80, yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right? So if they can do that, why not us? The difference, it's what we store in our minds. And when you talk to these people who are retired or who've just retired, there's just this talk about like, hey, niko na hii pesa kidogo, sijui nitafanya nini, ni advice naweza weka wapi, naweza. You're feeling so sorry for yourself, you are attracting the very, very same thing.
So you retire, you become tired, everything is just winding up.
Exactly, winding up. And so this feeds into so many things that I'm going to take you next, okay?
Yes.
And that is why the CEO started by telling us we should retire into something.
Something.
Because when you retire into something, you should be more energetic for it to drive even you further.
Oh yeah.
And you're your own boss.
Exactly.
You wake up, you're your own boss.
That's why we went back to the cash flow quadrant.
Oh yeah.
And like CEO said, if someone has been following all these episodes, you can start seeing how they're plugging into each other to this point. All right? And then remember something that I really emphasized. If you do not design your life, what will happen, Mike?
You will be following other people's paths.
Yes. And you won't even realize. So, watu wakiretire tunaendaga nyumbani si wote. So, pia mi acha niende. But what are you going to do there? Do you have a plan? Most people don't. It's just, we're just following the path like that. So you need to redefine your plan. And that now takes me to the part now where I'm going to generalize. When we're thinking about retirements, for those who've retired and for those who are about to retire, those who are working, and even the young people, especially the young people, this is very key for you. Because remember when I talked about risk, I said there's a relationship between risk and returns. Okay? When the risks are so high, you expect high returns. When the risks are low, you expect low returns. So as a young person, you're allowed to play around, figure out things. What is alluding to, all right? Don't wait until you retire to start trying things. Start at this point.
This is the point. This is the time.
Yeah?
Where you can afford to fail.
Exactly.
So you wake up and move on.
Precisely.
We fall down, we get up.
Yes. And when you fail, let me show you the power of this. When you fail into something, you have two choices. You either learn from that experience or you say, sitajaribu tena. But this is something I want to teach people. I said in the beginning, it's you who defines your life. It's you who sets the tone of what you want. And then God comes to aid you. Okay?
Yes.
So if you don't set, you'll be leaving someone else.
Live someone else's life, yes.
Exactly, okay?
Yes.
So when you take control of your life and you're so sure about what you want, God says, good, let's go. Now, the moment you fail, whether it's the first time, the second time, it's actually a prayer being answered. Failing is an answer from God.
Please say that again.
Failing is an answer from God. You chose you want to go there. He's now holding you to ende. Ukianguka hapa, the answer is there's somewhere you are weak. Ukifika pale utashindwa na ile. So I need to strengthen you here to give you that strength to be able to handle where you're going.
What's in front or what's ahead of you.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if you fail here and then you say, hii kitu work, what have you told the mind? It's not working. So what will it attract?
It's not working.
Not working.
Yes.
But if you stand up and say, thank you, God, for this failure. There's something you're trying to teach me here that I know is going to make me have that strength to tackle what I can see in front. He'll tell you, thank you, my daughter.
You were not there last week.
Yes.
Just to bring you up to speed. Last week, you told us that God will never take you to the next level until
You learn.
you learn here.
Exactly.
So here he is. And I'm saying this because I believe in the Holy Book. People believe in many other books.
Yeah.
It's okay. That's what you believe in. It's working for you. I believe in the Bible. And the Bible talks about the children of Israel who stayed in the wilderness for 40 years.
Yeah.
A journey they would have taken within hours. They stayed there. But when we come back to what they were told, that I'm taking you to a land full of milk and honey. So 40 years, they did not know how to milk or to keep beehives. So when I listen to what you're saying,
Yeah.
is that until I understand
Yes.
and learn,
Yes.
I can never go to the next level. It's just like a game.
You will keep reliving the same experience until
Over
the day
and
you will
over.
learn. Exactly.
Until I learn.
Exactly. So yeye atasimama tu hapo hivyo, atajaribu kutumia hints. My daughter, my son, this is what I'm trying to teach you. We can't proceed on until you fix this.
So it does not mean that God has left.
No.
It's just that he's trying to make me learn
Exactly.
and pass this level.
Exactly. And perfect it.
Oh my goodness, I need a sip of this coffee.
All right? And remember, it applies here. So what happens is if you start changing your mind into anytime you fail, you actually appreciate failing. You'll start realizing you're starting to move faster towards your goal.
Yes.
That's a promise I can give you. Okay?
Yes.
So that's something I want to take out. Even now for those who've retired, when you're starting something, change your mindset into this.
So body, mind.
Yes.
So whatever your body tells you, takes it to your mind. So body can start playing.
Yeah, it can play tricks on you.
Tricks.
Okay? It can do that. So you have to be very careful around this.
My goodness. Very many people saying, thank you very much. Clement, you are online. Dolphin Aremo, thank you. Says, good job. CEO Joffrey, thank you very much. Stephen, I'll be asking a question in just a bit. I have so many people. I have M. M says, enjoying the show, very educative. I have somebody called Kihara. Please shed some light on viewers who are self-employed. What percentage of monthly income should one open or put in a pension scheme? I'm sure Benson, you'll be telling us. And is it even important to invest in pension schemes? That's what he's asking. Wilfred, thank you very much. You say you're following. Kihara, you say bank is just a money dispenser. You'll know the wrath of bank policies if you happen to take an asset finance product and for some reason delay to the monthly payments. Ask me. Faith, where you are, thank you very much. You're online. Say this is such an eye-opener. Metropolitan Sacco is doing a great job. Thank you very much. To all of you who are watching, remember, you can talk to us. SMS line is 079-000-333. You can also talk to us on the same line on WhatsApp, 079-000-333. It's mind-opening tonight. It's mind-opening. My goodness.
Okay.
Kevin tells me we have 25 minutes to go or less.
Okay.
As we move on.
Right. So Mike, think about how much we destroy ourselves through our minds. From what I've just taught you, just think about it. How many people do you know who fail and stand up being strong? As opposed to those who just fail and say, it doesn't work. Ndio unapata ukikuja kwa our cash flow quadrant, remember I told you that for each of the quadrants requires a very different mind state.
Yes.
This is why these guys here, who are the majority, wakikuja kuanzisha biashara hapa kidogo, first and foremost, they have fear of leaving employment to set up something for themselves. The fear is so strong, it's just unbelievable. The whole feeling is like, I need to step out. Every part of their body is telling them, step out and start something. But something is holding them so much. That fear, I connected back to what I told you, some of the faults of our schooling system. But we're not going to go into that. So those who are brave enough to come out and start their hustlers with small businesses here, akianguka tu siku ya kwanza hivi, what do? Quickly go back.
Quit. Forget it.
Atakwambia biashara ni ngumu.
Life ni hard.
Life ni wacha nirudi hapa. Comfort zone.
Yes.
Because you don't really need to think a lot. There's not so many challenges you face here compared to this guy. But this is where financial freedom starts. It moves this way. If you remember the diagram I came up with, I said, You start from here, you drop here, and then you aim for here.
Yes.
Then once you get here, you keep playing around here. This is the area where financial freedom is. These are
Money
the
works for
people,
you.
money works for you,
Investment.
exactly.
Yes.
These two.
So just to bring our viewers up to speed, that's the quadrant.
Yes.
E is for employment.
Employment.
S is for
Small business.
B is for big business.
Yes.
I is for investment.
Exactly.
And you say it is on the right
Side. This is where financial freedom
that
is.
financial freedom comes in.
Hapa ni money stress.
Upper, we are chasing the cat.
Yes.
on the left side.
Yeah, and that's why we retire being so weak. We've been chasing it.
You're tired.
You're exhausted.
You chased the cat all through your life.
And you didn't realize you're chasing it.
Yes.
All right? Okay, so now, given the time, this is now generally to any person thinking about investment. For those who've retired, those who are about to retire, and the young ones. Now, the framework is as follows. This is what you do. You first take a piece of paper and sit down, and you imagine yourself living up to the year you think you're going to live.
Yeah.
So let's take 100, for instance. So that's the first step. Now you visualize yourself at 100 years. I said in goal setting, you always start from
The end.
the end.
Then work backwards.
Exactly. So you want to start thinking of yourself at this point of 100. That's the first thing you do. Then you start writing down the needs and wants you think you'll need at this age. Write them down. So number one, in the needs, you need shelter. Okay, so you write that down. You need clothing. You need food. Your health. Healthcare, exactly, all those things. You write them down. Exhaust them. Write down as much as you can. Write all of them down. Ukisikia umefika mwisho, tembelea wale wako that miaka. Go up country, speak to them. You know, it's like you're researching. What are the things I need? Write them down completely. That's the first thing you're supposed to do. Okay? Number two, once you write that down and you've exhausted all of them, come back and create this framework we drew up to the age where you are today. So it doesn't matter whether you're young, retired, or whatever it is. So you work backwards to this point. Okay? So I want you to divide it into 3 parts. So you have 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
Okay? So this end part we're calling 3. Call this one long term. Call this one mid term, and call this short term, or even immediate. Okay? Now remember, number one, you have this list of all these things. Okay? Number two, when you break this one down, of course now this will depend on your age. So what you can do is divide the age into 3 parts. Then you know I'm putting here what age.
Yes.
Okay? Now, once you do that, that's the second step, yeah? The third step, what you do is, you pick that list of all those things that you wrote down, and you start attaching them to one of these 3.
Okay.
Okay? So, for example, you might say, I want shelter around here. Nafaa kuwa na nyumba yangu. Okay? But for you to buy, to build that house, what do you need? You need land.
I need land.
So you bring back here. So you have to buy land first.
Yes.
And for you to buy land, you need what?
I need money.
You need money, you need savings.
Exactly. So that's how you think through that. Okay? So here I need money. So when it comes to shelter, you've ticked. You now move to the next thing, health.
Yes.
Whoa, if I get here, insurance are going to chase me away. So I need to find something that is going to. So again, you work backwards. The health insurance are going to sort me up to X point. But from there, I need to find out a way of how going forward, I'm going to do what? I'm going to sort myself. So you work with all those things following each other, one by one, until you exhaust them. So of course, depending on your personality, you'll know where to place them, but this is just a guide. So that's number 3. Number 4, now you come and do your math. You work on the data, you work on the finances. So how much do I think the house is going to cost? You put the amount. How much will the land cost? And the whole idea behind that is you want to see the capital that you require at each point here. So you're breaking down all those things in terms of monetary value, and you're placing them under each one of them. So what that is going to do at the end of the day, it's going to, number 1, you start from the end, so the mind is very clear where you're heading to, therefore increasing the power of attraction. And then now you've broken it into parts of, in terms of money, this is what I need. In the short term, this is what I need. Long term, this is what I need. Sorry, mid and long term. Now, once you get to that point, you go to step number 5. Step number 5, now you ask yourself, now what do I have today?
Now,
Yes.
what is this that I have
Yes.
today?
I require this amount in step 4, but how much do I have today?
Yes.
Okay? So that gives you now to see that gap that you need to work towards something.
That's right.
Right? So you're being guided with the long-term plan working backwards. So when you get to that point now, you can start telling yourself, this which I have, which now sends me to the 6th point, and the 6th point now is, for you to fill that gap, I need to pick whatever I have today and attach them to cash flowing assets for starters. Because you want something that will be generating revenue for you, all right? So based on your analysis, you can tell yourself, I'll probably need about 3 assets that are giving me X, Y, Z amount on a monthly basis.
Yes.
And I'm projecting that in the next 3 years, I'll be able to get this amount which can help me buy the land. And if I continue doing this, this one is going to give me amount to build this. So you attach assets or cash flowing assets on the onset, and you start working towards that. So when you're thinking about assets, you can go the route of investments. So then you ask yourself, what kind of investments am I looking for? All right? If I get a fixed deposit that is giving me 9%, will that cater for what I'm trying to achieve up mbele?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
If 9 is not sufficient, I think 11 will do. Such that when I walk to Mr. Benson's office, I'm very clear. I want an FD of 11%. Hata simulizi mnapeana ngapi.
This is what I want.
This is what I want. You get? Yeah?
Can you match it?
Can you match it? So you see, you've really taken control of your life. If it gets to a point you're the one who's telling the circle what you're looking for, it tells you how focused you are. And that focus feeds into the mind.
Okay.
And the more focused you are, I told you the power of attraction does what? It starts to manifest.
Yes. So immediately you start attracting, it manifests.
Precisely. So that is the approach. So even if you're retired today, whatever small thing you have, it is all about planning and thinking from the end coming back.
So probably somebody is watching us tonight
Right.
and they're thinking, oh my goodness, why didn't I get somebody to tell me this before I retired? I'm retired. Remember, mind, body, mind, soul.
Yeah.
And they're seated there and they're thinking, my goodness, and how come nobody told me this when I was just about to retire? Is there hope?
Yes.
Is there
Why?
hope to those who've already retired?
There is, because the mind doesn't know you've retired.
So the mind doesn't know age.
In fact,
And that's what I'm saying.
they retired from something.
Yes.
But
They
again,
retired from employment, from
then
whatever it
into-
was.
Yes. And that's the example that Andrew is giving us here. That yes, they retired from, for example, active employment.
Yes.
And that's where, for example, they are, where now he has indicated age.
Whatever age it is now.
Yes,
Exactly.
whatever. Let's say even 60.
Yes.
Yes.
Or even 62 or even 65. Where would they want to be in another 20 years?
Exactly.
Yes.
So start working from there,
Work from where you are.
Yeah.
from where you are.
And that's what I'm
Age,
saying.
that is age-wise, eh?
So when you're thinking the end, this is what I want, then you come to where you are.
Okay.
So you can be 65, you can be 55, you can be 20. It's up to you. This is just a framework. So you divide it into these parts. And that is why you'll find like now that friend of yours, maybe akiwa 20 years, alijipatia goal ya 45. So this was the end goal for him, which is similar to this. So this was the long-term plan that he had. Then he came up with something in the mid. Then he thought about like the short term. If you read, these things in the Western world, people are retiring at 30 years old.
Yeah.
And we think they're crazy.
And they're telling you I've retired.
Because we are programmed to believe ni siku ile boss atakuonyesha red card.
So this is what probably athletes do.
You see now athlete, you can decide. The good thing about athletes is that they get a lot of money, so that they can actually even work quickly on these things. But mainly athletes, it's because of the age.
The age, yes.
Haezi kimbia tena. Wangekuwa na hiyo uwezo ya kufika 60 bado nakimbia, they could not be retiring at the early age. It's just that mwili sasa limefika imekataa.
Haezi kimbia tena.
Exactly.
Or even the footballers.
Yes. And that's why now, Bwana Sio ametuambia, you retire into something. So even if you're retiring into 20 ama 30, you've left athletics. Yes. Now you dive into
you
something else.
From athletics.
Exactly. Now you're moving into something else.
Okay, I have very many questions in here tonight, and I know we'll be going to the next one because Kevin tells me we'll have to wrap up. Okay. Somebody here says, please shed some light on to the viewers who are self-employed. What percentage of monthly income should one put in a pension scheme? Is it even important to even invest in a pension scheme? Benson.
Yes. Thank you. That is who?
This is Kihara.
Kihara, thank you so much for that inquiry. And right from the discussion that we have had today, I think the most important thing is first, identify your long-term goal. That's the 100. That's where we start.
Yes.
We at Metropolitan National Circle, we will help you plan your retirement. So long as you come up with that long-term goal or objective, then we will work together and ensure that from where you are, you'll be able to move to your long-term goal. And we'll even start from small. We can even start with 10,000. The same way, because again, if it's working with the arrangement that, for example, one has with the employer,
yes,
where an employer contributes 5,000 and you contribute your 3,000, and at the end of the day, you're able to save the 8,000. Institutions nowadays, including ourselves, we are so flexible because again, if you look at the players who are out there, we are competing. Today, if a customer walks into Metropolitan and is not served according to his or her expectations, we just walk to the next door. And a good example, you'll see that where banks do operate, they operate all of them actually next to each other and again on the same street.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Yes.
And this is to ride on a few things like security, among others. So we are there to listen to you, Bwana Kihara. We will work with you. We will agree that this is what I would want to be saving on a monthly basis. Then from there, we'll share quite a number of products that are there that will make you be able to move to your long-term objective, which is saving to your retirement. Yes.
Let me take you.
And just to add on to that,
yes,
Bwana Kihara, it's not about the percentage that you put aside. It's about what do you want. It all starts from there. If I tell you 3% and you're making 10,000, I tell someone else 3% and they're making 100,000. Where does that place the two of you?
Yes.
So you have to be very clear what is it that you want to do. That's the power of thinking from the end, working backwards. Because, and it's so beautiful when you understand this thing, because it tells you you're unlimited.
Yes.
You can choose anything you want to. Because the power around this is, if you dream big and you set it big and you work backwards, naturally your mind will start thinking of ways
Yes.
hata kama una pesa.
Something will,
That's how God works. He'll just start connecting you with people. Vitu zinatu kufanyika because you've chosen what is it that you really wanted. Now if you're looking at yourself at this income or naka biashara kadogo siwezi kuwa, what are you storing in your mind?
yes.
Okay? So if I say next year I'm targeting to be a billionaire, watu watanicheka. Why? Hata una kitu saizi unatuambia nini?
Yeah.
All right? But if I stay focused on that in the mind, things will start working.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right. I know we are supposed to be winding up, and I know you still have
No,
few pointers.
I've actually finished on the pointers around that. I just wanted to give a framework of how to go about planning your retirement. So that framework is what most people miss.
The framework.
The framework.
How to plan
Exactly.
your retirement.
Yes.
And it's not too late.
It's never
if you-
too late. The mind does not know what is late and what is early. It only knows to attract. Simple as that.
Attract.
Yes.
Mindset. As we wind up tonight, there's somebody who's in their 60s.
Yes.
They're thinking, I retired, I have this money, I've already been told, please, this is not this is not the time to take risks. You know, you don't start buying a matatu. I mean, and every now and then, tumeshikwa. You know, what's your advice to those who are in that age bracket? They've already retired. They have the money, or probably they don't even have that money. How would you explain to them? How would you, you know, just tell them? What's your advice to them to start from now?
Mike, thank you for that good question. And I think this will also be my parting shot.
Yes.
That Andrew has hammered the points very well, very, very well. And we at Metropolitan Circle, we have all these products. And I think for the next two sessions that we'll be having, we would want now to go, you know, to deep dive into the specific products that we do offer at Metropolitan National Circle. And we have products for the young people. We have products for, you know, that are meant to take care of school fees needs, long-term financial needs, short-term loans, all these advances and all that. And the key message here is that we have committed that we'll work with all these people to ensure that they're able to meet their long-term, not even retirement, their long-term goals.
Goals.
Yes. We start from what they want at the very end. We walk backwards and agree. If you want, let's say, 10 years from now, that's when you'd be retiring from what you are doing currently.
Yes.
And you'd want to retire into something. This is what you need to put in place. Yes.
To the young people, a lot of them think they have time. You know, they have the luxury of time, which is true. They have the luxury of time. Yet again, we start seeing things like, for example, now the pandemic came. Those who thought they had the luxury of time start looking at things like nobody's taking interns anymore. Internships, it's like they have all been cancelled.
Yes.
Then you find now these young people are wondering, what next?
Yeah.
At what point should they start thinking about, you know, come from the end, work backwards?
Yes. You know, as while sat here, I was thinking, you know, some of us, we have not been able to, you know, to follow through what we have been taking through our members and viewers. And just came to my mind, what if whatever we have been taking through our members and viewers, whether it can be documented in a, you know, a fairly summarized way.
Yes.
You know, a document that would be about 5, at most 10 pages.
Yes.
Yeah. Something nice that we can even try and see whether it can be shared, you know, for free, if it's possible. Because again, what we would want to see, and that's what this kind of training is meant to achieve, is that this message, you know, gets to reach to all our members, existing members, viewers who are also our potential members, because again, we want for them to plan their future well. You know, the opportunity that we are having right now, that we have this kind of information, they also get to access this information and they start planning for their future, for their retirement, And this is comprehensively captured, in the various sessions that we have had. Right from the first one where we really dealt so much with the mindset.
Yes.
We looked at the cash flow quadrant, all those, the investment and big business. They get to understand all this message. And once that information is readily accessible to them, be it young people, be it those ones who are in their, mid-30s,
Yes.
30s, 40s, this is information that will go a long way in empowering them financially. Yes. Yeah. And we'll make sure that happens.
Yes.
Yes.
Some few things we've learned. One is we should stop chasing the cat. Two is that from this time onwards, once we've been having this is our 8th episode, and since we started, I've come to realize, there's nothing like rainy day.
Yeah.
Nothing like rainy day. Another thing I've learned is that, please, if you do not create your own path, you'll always be following other people's paths. And here we are, somebody who has been following other people's paths, and retirement has beckoned. What's your advice to them? Is it too late to start my own path?
It's never too late, because the mind does not know age. So when you tell yourself it's late, that's what you're going to attract to your life. So whatever age you are, just sit down and say, okay, fine. Be thankful to God this message has got to you. Now going forward, I want to create my own path. Okay? It's time I learn the things I've learned through this and put them into practice. What do I want from the end? Coming back.
What do I want from the end? Coming back. And we have some, and by the way, in all this, Andrew, so at what point do I need to know this is peer pressure? My friend Kevin bought a V8, now I need to buy a one.
Yes.
My friend so-and-so has been having this, weekends riding on yachts.
Yes.
So at what point do I need, peer pressure?
Yes.
Peer pressure and short, mid and long term goals. At what point do I need to differentiate them?
It's actually very simple if you follow the simple thing I've talked about, defining your path. You see, Mike, for example, let's take an example of me. I say next year, I want to make sure that I grow my company to a tune of about 1 billion. Okay? I don't care what people think outside there. This is the amount I'm looking at. Now, I have 1 year to do that. So when I start working backwards, can you imagine the amount of pressure I'm going to put on myself every day I wake up? Because you break it down from how I taught the goal setting. So I work backwards. So I know by June, if I'm starting in January, I should be around minimum of about 400,000. I cannot fail that, because now it messes the remaining part. Then I work backwards to the month. In the first 1 month, I need to have raised 100,000. That means in a week, I'm looking at about how much? I should be having at least something like 25,000. All right? So if I break that to a day, do you know it can come down to what I was talked about? What is your value per
minute?
That's what it does to you. And the moment you get to that point, ukinunua vieti yako na mimi napanda matatu, I will be comfortable because I know where I'm going. The reason why people, acha pia mimi nunue yangu, it's because they're not so sure of where they're heading to. I cannot afford the luxury of me spending money on a car, and I know this is a liability, and I've set myself a target of 1 million. So nichekeni mkiona nikipanda matatu, but let's see after 1 year who's be laughing.
Because I know my destiny, I know where I'm headed. I know where I'm headed.
So peer pressure comes because people do not know their value for minute, and secondly, they've not defined their path. It's as simple as that. So it's not about what age you are. It's about defining what you want.
Defining what
Everything else falls into place.
Gentlemen, when we kick off this show, time flies.
Correct, correct.
Time
I
flies, you
agree.
always want more and more and more and more because we're thirsty to hear these things, kind of things.
Yeah.
We really want to understand, you know, our destiny, where we're headed. And most importantly, creating wealth, not just riches, but creating wealth.
Yeah.
How do we create wealth? I know we have a few more episodes to go. Today being our 8th episode, it's been such a wonderful journey from episode 1 to 8th. Today we are on our 8th episode. Remember, it is the Metro Business Cafe. We are here every Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. And we thank you, all of you who keep talking to us, both on Twitter, both on Twitter, Facebook, talking to us on 0790 on WhatsApp. It's the same line that we use, 0790 That is our SMS line. Thank you so much to all of you who keep talking to us. I'm sure a lot of you are seeing us talking back to you even after the show. It's because time does not allow to answer all the questions that you keep asking, but we are very, very grateful. As you say good night.
Thank you so much, our viewers. We have enjoyed you keeping us company.
Thank you.
Looking forward to next week.
Next week,
Yes.
most definitely. Andrew, as we wrap up tonight.
Oh, well, for me is, please remember you're a creator. So for today's topic, create your dream, your goal, and have a number. Retirement has nothing to do with age, it's a number. So once you define that number, work backwards. You're not going to be distracted from anything around that. And then just to wrap up, like so far what we've covered, I want to repeat a quote that I started with in the first lesson, where I said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Say that again.
When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Change. My goodness. What a better way to end tonight. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Remember to get into all our YouTube channels. My YouTube channel is Mike Njenga. Like and subscribe. There is Dreamers Africa. Dreamers Club Africa.
Yeah.
Also YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. And of course, there is Metropolitan National Circle. Just like and subscribe. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. My name is Michael Njenga. It's always a pleasure to be with you on Metro Business Cafe. Remember, and I want us to say this again, when you change
The way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Good night and God bless.